Hey, what's poppin', guys? Sizzle here, and today we're taking a look at all the M4 skins in the game to see what the best one is. And yeah, stock's a pretty good way to start. It's just really solid. Nothing too crazy going on. Pretty clean back part here, pretty clean front part here, and it has like the right amount of usage in the middle. Not particularly amazing stock skin, but it definitely isn't that bad. I'd say probably a low C tier, which is, it's a pretty good way to start off a tier list. So yeah, then off to the real first skin, which is the M4A4 Jungle Tiger. I didn't even remember this was in the game, but I can see why, because it's really just generic. Well, it's actually not generic, that's the wrong way to put it. It has like the same kind of vibe to it that a camo skin does, but it has, I guess, a lot of personality to it that I don't really care for. It's just a really dull skin with not too much going on. This color that they used here in the front and the back just really doesn't look that good in my opinion, at least on the M4. At least combined with the rest of the stuff here. But yeah, it's basically just a camo skin. It's not horrible. It is kind of unique in the fact that I don't know if there's anything else like it, but I don't like it that much, so it's a D tier. I can't really explain that one. Then there's the M4A4 Desert Storm, which I can explain. It's just a sand camo skin. I'm not the biggest fan of camo skins, as you'll come to learn across all these videos. And for that reason, for me, it's already a D tier. It's probably better than the other one, though, because I do like the colors in the sand camo skin a bit better than the natural camo colors. But I'm not a fan of the camo skins. Anyway, then we got the M4A4 Tornado. I don't know if you can get this in like a clean thing, because this is a relatively decent flow, 0.064, and it's like scratched to hell. Like, this looks like it's well worn. But if it wasn't like completely screwed up, it's just a really clean like finish. Right? This is a decent color of blue. This is, it's a tan isn't a horrible color. And combined in the way they combined it here, it looks really clean if it was cleaner, but I don't know if it gets cleaner, if that makes sense. So I don't know if this really is that good, but assuming that there's a clean version of this skin where there's no real scratches that are super noticeable like this, then this is definitely really solid skin. I just like it. It's like a very simple recoloring that just looks kind of clean, but it is kind of dull, and there's a good chance it won't get clean because it's an old skin. So I'm gonna put it in C tier for now. Yeah. Then we have the M4A4 Urban DPad, which it's a camo skin, but it's like a white camo skin. And unlike a lot of other camo skins, this one's like predominantly just white. Like the whole front here is white, the whole back here is white, the entire handle is completely white. And only the rest of the skin has the camo on it, which is actually kind of a plus. I actually really like the part with the white finish. I mean, the whiteout is one of my favorite skins out there. And this is like half a whiteout, so it's actually kind of cool for that. But otherwise, it's just got the basics of an Urban DPad, camo skin, kind of bright skin with, it's actually probably the best thing we've seen so far. I do really like how much white there is to see in the skin. It's kind of unfortunate that it's only on half the skin, though, and that, the half that you generally see in game is this back part right here. You do actually see this front part, too, but this back part's mainly where your eyes go to, and it's not as nice. Anyway, then we have the M4A4 mainframe. This is like 90% stock. I think the front here's kind of changed. I mean, this definitely has changed, and then this middle part's changed, but not in a way that looks nice. Honestly, just looks worse than stock, and I'd just use stock over this thing any day. The design is not... Maybe if it was on the whole weapon, it'd be better, but the fact that this is like half stock and half not, there's no reason to use this thing over stock, so it's definitely an F tier for me. Then we have the final industrial grade, the M4A4 Dark Blossom, which, another one I really haven't seen. But this one I can kind of see why, because it's just super dull. It's not even like a bad design. Like, the color blue here is okay, and the color gray here can be good, but combined together it's just a super dull skin, although it does have a kind of nice looking pattern to it. But the problem is with this one is that you're never gonna like see it. Like, I'm looking at this skin right now, and I'm focused on nothing else but this skin, and I can still barely see what's going on with it. It's actually kind of has a good amount of potential, but I think it has to be a little bit brighter to actually be somewhat visible. So unfortunately I'm gonna have to put it in a low D tier placement, even though it actually is, somewhat unique and somewhat decent looking. Then we have the M4A4 Radiation Hazard, commonly referred to as the budget Howl for some reason. Not particularly sure why that is, but this skin it's kind of clean, right? The radiation symbol is actually a bit forward, like it'd be better if it was back here. But I don't think it changes with patterns. If it does, and it can be back here, it's another plus. But otherwise, this just has a really solid color scheme. The kind of heavy wear that it has, even though it has a pretty good float, it's kind of a plus here because it's supposed to be, you know, from a radiation site, which is like normally kind of like a not something you expect to be in top condition. Like when when you have like a nuclear, not nuclear fallout, but you know what I mean, like where the nuclear power plant kind of falls apart or whatever. This is kind of what you'd expect to see. And it's solid. I mean, it's got a good color scheme. There's a good color orange here, and then the color of orange used on this is really vibrant and really noticeable. And the rest of the skin is a pretty solid color scheme and design that works well with the fact that it's going to have a lot of wear. It's not particularly insane, but it definitely is a pretty solid skin. I can see why people do tend to like it so much. So for me, it's actually a solid B tier, I'd say. Then we have the M4A4 Converter, which exists. I like this. Actually wouldn't be bad in a vacuum, but knowing that there's a lot of really solid red skins, like red colored skins for the M4A4, this one really does not stick out at all. It's got like a black and red finish, but also with this stupid hexagon pattern that I hate that's on like half the skins in CS that are somewhat old. And that's pretty much all it's got going on. I mean, maybe it's a D tier, if even. But I honestly will probably never be using this thing anytime, just ever, except for maybe like a trade-up or something, if that makes sense. Anyway, then we have the M4A4 Global Offensive, which actually is kind of interesting. You have all like the continents highlighted in golds across the whole weapon, plus some extras or repeats or whatever. And it almost has the same look of a camo skin, but with some really interesting colors that kind of stick out to you. Honestly, without the name being Global Offensive, I would not have recognized these as like continents or whatever. I would have just figured they were like the shapes you see in a camo skin. And I think that's what most people would see when they actually look at this weapon. But the color scheme of this, white, blue, gold, and gray actually go together pretty well, and end up leaving you with a pretty interesting looking weapon, but not one that looks particularly amazing. I would definitely use this over stock, because it does have some interesting stuff going on, but honestly I think it's less clean than the Tornado, so I'm going to leave this as, a solid C tier. Then we have the M4A4 Faded Zebra, which is just super dull skin. Like this is like an M4 you left in the corner for like 50 years that got super dusty. It just doesn't look that great. I'm honestly probably not going to be using this one either, so I'm putting in the F tier. Yeah, that's all there's to say about it. Then we have the M4A4 Magnesium, and it's just a kind of clean, I don't know why there's a sticker on it, but it's a clean finish for the M4, nice metal finish. Very well done textures, I gotta say. I really like, especially this front part here. I don't know what texture that is, but it looks really, really nice, especially when you move it around like this. And then the rest of the weapon just has some really solid designs on it. It's got a cool CT little symbol in the back. I'm assuming there's one here maybe, but actually with the fire it might not be. But yeah, it's like an HD version of stock that's really cleaned up, but not like too insane. And it's really nice and just neat. Probably the best thing we've seen so far, but not by that much. I would just say it's a solid B tier. Just a better version of stock. Then we have the M4A4 Polymag, which is a new skin, really, really new skin, but I don't know what it's really offering. This is just maybe a cleaner sand camo, and I guess with a like an Xray thing on the bullets. Maybe ace and out and spit it out here, mean something. But yeah, it's really just as the same build as like a sand camo skin, even though it doesn't have the camo. It's definitely a lot cleaner than your average camo skin, but it's only like marginally better than stock and the Tornado. I'd probably put it right above the Tornado, unless if the Tornado has cleaner finishes, that it shoots up to like a solid B tier for me, but I don't think it does. I think it always ends up being scratched, so it's gonna stay middle C tier. I actually think this is better than the DPad, even though I do like that half of it is like a whiteout. Anyway, that was our final blue, so we have our first purple, the M4A4 Modern Hunter. There's nothing modern about this, one of the older skins out there. It's from the Militia Collection, and you can definitely tell that it's old. I mean, other than this sticker, which I don't think I've ever seen before, it's actually kind of interesting. The skin, I mean, I don't know what this is. This is like, if I were to make a skin in CS, this would be the type of thing I accidentally make after I mess up, like, after 10 minutes of watching tutorials. This isn't like a real skin that anyone should be using. It's got like a super stretched, weird texture in the middle of like some tree with some leaves. I think this thing's used in trade-ups, which is why it's so pricey or whatever, or there's just not a lot of them, but it really is just not a good skin. I'd say this is easily an F tier. It has no anything. There's like no thought put into this thing. It's just this the dumb texture added to the weapon. Then we have the M4A4 Daybreak, which, yeah, it's the good half of the stock M4 with a, you know, some golden clouds on a gray sky on the other half. I think it really doesn't go well with stock, right? Like the part that is the Daybreak is somewhat interesting. I think if they had it across the whole skin, it would be probably a decent B tier skin, because it's got a nice gray background, and the golden clouds really don't detract from that. And I guess it's kind of cool. It's coming out of the sun right here. You get like the sun rays coming out. But otherwise, I mean, this is an older skin, so it has a lot of wear, and it really just does not look good being half stock and half like okay. I'm gonna say it's probably a high D tier, probably above all the camo skins that I don't really like, but not really much better. Then we have the M4A4 Red DPad. It's a cleaner version of that other red skin we saw before, without all the hexagons, but that's about all it is. Nothing crazy, nothing that I'd really go insane for, but it definitely isn't bad. It's an okay-ish skin with some red color on it. I think I actually used it by mistake earlier. This is the bad one. This is the red one, but red is a solid color. Honestly, probably put at the top of C tier. It's just a solid color for the M4. It works well. There's a reason there's a lot of red skins. Then we have the M4A4 Zerka, which it's like your standard army skin. Not even like camo skin, but like army skin. It's like the type of stuff you see on like toy soldiers. If you ever have had any of those, it's the exact weapon you pretty much see. It's got a little army star in the back here, I guess some chains or something behind it, and then it's just a solid like olive green in the back, I think. Not a particularly amazing skin, but definitely not bad. I think if you like camo skins, you'll like this one quite a lot, but I don't like camo skins, so I don't like it as much. Even though it is a somewhat clean finish, I'll give it that. I just really do not like camo skins, and I would use stock over this, but I can see why some people might want to use this over stock, if that makes sense. Then we have the M4A4 Griffin, which, I mean, yeah, it's describing what it is. It's got a Griffin in the middle. I think I have one of these because it has like an older like sticker, like an iBuyPower, not like any crazy iBuyPower, but like the 2014 one that isn't expensive on it or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it looks better here than it is in game, because in game it cuts it off like around here. Basically, you just see like the eagle head and like one wing. The other wing you never really see, especially since it's weirdly hidden under everything here. Like, there's no reason they couldn't just overlap it over here, because they have the ability, clearly, to texture this part. They have, like, feathers on here, but they didn't do the whole wing on here, which kind of sucks. And then the rest of the skin is still just a stock M4, and it doesn't flow together that well. There wasn't too much put into this. I mean, it's not horrible. Might be marginally better than stock, but marginally is the key word there. Got some cool-looking Griffin on, I guess. Anyway, then we have the M4A4 Evil Daimyo, which is kind of the one I always think of when I think of a red M4, and there's a reason for it. It's because it looks super clean. It's got a really nice color of red and, you know, black or gray, whatever, but it has like several shades and they all mix together super well. I know there's a bunch of random designs on here, but honestly, I don't know what they are. I don't really care what they are, to be honest with you. And when you look at the skin, all you really notice is the red and gray, and I think all those random patterns and stuff might be designed in some way that you're rain kind of tunes them out or something. I don't really know, but this one's just super clean. One of the cleaner finish M4s out there. And in most other weapons, this would be an S tier, but knowing that there's some really solid M4 skins out there, this actually is only going to be A tier for me. There's some really crazy stuff. Like, for example, the M4A4 Spider Lily. This thing is beautiful. I don't actually know what the design in the middle is. I think that's what a spider lily is, like a type of flower. But yeah, you got like the flowers budding out in the middle, and that's what your eyes get drawn to in actual gameplay. But then when you're looking at it a bit more, you have this like copper, not copper, what is it? Brass or gold finish on some parts of the weapon. You have like the galaxy almost on the sides here. Really nice looking handle that it's different, but it doesn't look out of place. And then the mag kind of does, but you really rarely see that. It's just, I don't really know how to describe why this is so clean, but it's really clean when you have it in game. Because this design in the middle, like, it's just solid, and then the color scheme and everything else just works really well with it. This is definitely a solid A tier skin as well, but probably a bit worse than the simplicity and just niceness of the Evil Daimyo. Then we have a pretty infamous one, the M4A4 Poseidon, using a lot of trade-ups. And kind of understandable why. I was gonna say it's kind of unfortunate, and then I saw the front tip here. For some reason, they textured most of this skin, but they didn't texture this little front part here, so it kind of sucks. But yeah, this one's kind of cool. You have Poseidon coming out the front right here. You don't actually see the trident most of the time, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's like literally it's Poseidon fighting, or like Poseidon charging forward with some eels. It's got, I don't know what this is coming up the front here, because it's not really attached to anything. That's kind of a bit weird, actually. I think it's supposed to attach to this eel here, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's a really cool design on the weapon. It does use most of the skin, but doesn't use all of it. And, you know, because so many of these are used in trade-ups, especially ones that have a nicer float, you're actually going to see it looking like this most of the time, where it's scratched up all over the mag and stuff, which kind of detracts a lot from it. But it's a pretty solid design. I do like what is going on. It's probably a very solid high C tier, possibly B tier. It does use the whole weapon, and it's actually well designed. I think if you get this in a higher float, but like they don't really exist anymore, but if you were to get one in a higher float, I would honestly put this, you know, middle B tier, probably actually high B tier, but knowing that all of these are kind of going to be bad, which is a pretty rare thing. I don't have a lot of knowledge on most skins, but this is one where I do. Just knowing that puts it down a lot for me. Then we have the M4A4 Dragon King, which, yeah, I mean, you got like the dragon from, it's either Chinese or Japanese, I think, like folklore, just right in the middle, and just a decent looking design around the rest of it. I mean, you see it like this most of the time in game. It's really solid. It's in the right place, right? You see this every time you're looking at the skin, and then the rest of it's just okay. Like, it's got a decent design to follow up with that. It would have been a lot cooler if, I don't remember what skin we looked at that had this, but there was another skin kind of similar to this, based on like the same kind of style of art, that filled the whole skin with a bunch of cool art. I think they had a lot of potential to do that here, but they kind of just kept it really simple, and I think when you have something so detailed like this, it kind of works against you to your detriment. It's still definitely pretty solid. I'd say this is probably a solid low B tier, but I can't really justify putting it any higher, because it just has one real detail that anyone would look at, and when you start looking at it more, the rest of it isn't bad, but it doesn't really, you know, it's not that great. It's not something like really cool. This dragon, though, is pretty well done in the middle, I'll give him that. Then we have the M4A4 Desolate Space, which is a somewhat, I feel like this is somewhat recent, but it's just from Gamma, which I don't think is that recent. But this is a cool one. I mean, that's all there's to say about it. You have like an orbital laser cannon coming through the back and striking this cool-ass like skeleton, like dead astronaut or whatever. You have a rocket flying off the front, which kind of fits well with the fact that that's, you know, where you see your bullets coming out of your gun. And the overall color scheme of these like purple and blue colors is really good, with your central focus obviously being on the dead astronaut, which is a really cool design. I love how this thing looks. Not enough to really put it all the way up in A tier, but it's sorry, an S tier, but it's a very, very high A tier, and I think it should, like, depending on what else there is, because I remember there being some pretty good M4 skins. This might even move up to S. But honestly, this is just a really clean design, really well done skin across the board. Then we have the M4A4 Hellfire. I never, like, ever see this thing used in game. I'm not too sure why, other than just the fact that I eyeballed it right now and this thing's kind of expensive. Which is kind of unfortunate because I actually really like how this thing looks. You have like this cartoonish looking devil guy like in the center of the skin with a really like kind of funny looking face. The color scheme is beautiful. It's got that really nice red and orange color scheme that you kind of see in Hell. You have a lot of people kind of like, well, not people, a lot of like skulls in the fire in the back, but it's like a cartoon version of like Hell. With, I guess, whatever, I don't know what this text is here, but it fits well with the design. I don't really know what I like so much about this, but I just really like the style that this is in, and I really like the colors used here. And I honestly would probably pick one of these up if it wasn't so expensive and the M4A4 was debatably not useful right now. But it's a really nice looking skin. I think it's definitely deserving of S tier. Just really well designed, really nice color scheme, and just looks really good overall. Then we have the M4A4 Tooth Fairy, which I honestly am surprised is from the Fracture collection, because this definitely seems like it'd be from the Dreams and Nightmare collection that just came out, because you have some like nightmare like monster coming here. It says don't sleep, don't sleep. I don't know what this says at the bottom here, but like, yeah, I mean, you just have some like nightmarish creature like going across your weapon, and then like either blood or just a really close to blood looking red color in the front, along with just a general kind of wear to this thing that actually works in its favor, right? Like the way this looks a bit worn down, as if it's something from older times or whatever, and then you have this like creature coming off the back of your skin. It's actually really cool, and you know, you naturally get drawn to this thing. I think it's the reason it's called Tooth Fairy. This might be like the historically, you know, if you look at like the first iteration of the Tooth Fairy, this might be like the accurate version to folktale lore or whatever. But yeah, it's a really unique skin, kind of like Nightmare Fuel, but like not enough to like not want to look at it. Honestly, I'm a bit split on this one because I don't think I'd personally use it, but I can see why a lot of people would. I think for me, it's probably a low A tier. It's really well done. It's just not my type of skin that I like, but I can see why a lot of people would like to use this. Then we have the M4A4 Cybersecurity, which is a generally clean finish for the M4. You have the, you know, blue, red, and yellow just coming across the middle, very vibrant colors, and then the rest of it's a very solid finish of black. Not just like a color, but the finish overall. Like you can see the little hexagon patterns here that work together pretty well here, and I don't know why there's like an arrow here. And there's some text on here that probably means something, but I don't know what, because I don't speak whatever language this is. But yeah, I mean, clean finish, clean colors, not particularly insanely clean or anything, but just pretty solid overall. I'd say it's probably above the Spider Lily, but below the Evil Daimyo, because Evil Daimyo is honestly just one of the cleaner finishes out there. I'm actually going to put it back over the Desolate Space, because the Desolate Space is a cool design, but you can't really do a lot with stickers on it. The Evil Daimyo, because it's so clean and just clean overall, you can really do a lot with stickers on it, so I think it actually kind of can go above, depending on what you craft. Anyway, next up we have our first red, the M4A4 Coalition, which I think this has something to do with the CS lore. Like, there's people like discussing that the symbol here means something in CS lore or whatever, but otherwise, I mean, it's just a really solid golden black finish on the M4. That's really all there is to it. I mean, it's really gold, and there's enough black in the background to kind of fill the void, and it's not so much gold that it's just pure gold, and it's just clean. It's a really clean finish, just overall, very bright, very nice. There's really not a lot of negatives you can give this skin. I think I like the Hellfire a bit more because I just like the little cartoonish style. But otherwise, it's just a really clean skin. I can't find anything really negative to say about this thing. I don't think they could have done any better with what they were going for, and I think they went for something pretty good. Then we have the M4A4 Xray, pretty infamous for being not very well liked M4 skin, being one of the cheaper reds in the game. And I mean, I can see why. It has a horrible color scheme, and the design is really kind of uninspired. Like, you can see the spring coming in the back here, and then you can see the bullets in the mag, and that's pretty much it. I mean, you can also see, like, the little mechanism to load the bullets, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not too knowledgeable on, you know, the inner workings of guns and stuff. But yeah, and for some reason this one has stickers on it, but it's just like a iffy color scheme with iffy design. I mean, it's better than stock, I'll give it that, but that's about all I'll give it. I'm gonna put it above the Urban DPad, but below the little sand one that's kind of clean. Alright, then we have the M4A4 Asimov, kind of an infamous skin on the op, not so infamous on the M4, like generally because this is, I guess it's like a field tested one, so this is just kind of weirdly worn. But yeah, it looks solid, but it doesn't have the same clean finish that a lot of the Asimovs have. I don't even know, I generally don't know to describe how, like, what makes Asimovs look so good to me, but whatever makes them look so good isn't really applying on this Asimov. I do like just the solid amount of white this thing has, I guess, I'll give it that, but it's missing something. I don't know how to describe what, but it's missing something that a lot of the other Asimovs have. And for me, that kind of ruins a lot of what the Asimov has going on. I'm gonna put it in high B tier just because I like the solid amount of white on it, but that's about it. I mean, I don't have much more to say about the design. It's nothing crazy. It's not super clean or anything. It's just alright. Pretty bright. Then we have, I think this is the cheapest M4 red, the M4A4 Desert Strike. I mean, yeah, it's a desert camo skin, but just worse than the other one. I think it just justifiably belongs at least below the other one, but I'm gonna put it much lower than the other one, probably all the way in D tier, because why would you use this when the better sand camo exists? There's not really a lot of reason to use this unless it's just exponentially cheaper. Then we have the M4A4 Bullet Rain, really well-known, another solid red skin. Has this little screaming guy in the back that you never see. You have bullets that are red raining down from the clouds in the middle, and a nice red finish in the front. The only real negatives about this skin is the fact that I think they could have kept the bullet rain going down into the mag and had the clouds kind of continue down to the handle and also just colored their front. I don't know why they didn't bother doing that. So it's kind of like an incomplete skin, but the part that is complete is just really clean. The bullet rain concepts and art is both a pretty unique idea and really well executed. I really like how the bullets look coming down from the clouds here. It's just unfortunate that it's not like a completed skin, but it still is definitely really solid. I'd say it's a solid B tier, probably under the Asimov, but above that metallic M4. And next up we have the M4A4 Royal Paladin, which, yeah, I think this is like the predecessor to the Coalition, but it's like, it's too fancy, right? This one's like ultra 4K, like HD, there's like too many things going on here to actually even see what even one of them is. Got a really nice, you know, finish to it, right? It's got, you know, a generally metallic finish with a more brass finish in the middle. I wouldn't call this gold. I'd say the Coalition is definitely gold. This is more of just brass or even possibly like copper. I don't know. But yeah, it's a decent finish overall, but nothing really insane. This isn't something I'd go crazy for, but it's definitely not bad by any means. Got a solid color scheme and definitely a really solid finish overall. I'd say it's probably above the Dragon King, but below the Radiation Hazard. I can't really explain why, but yeah, I think it's a solid B tier. Then we have the M4A4 Battlestar, which, yeah, I don't know what they were going for here. Like, it's clearly really high definition. There's a lot of detail here, and a lot of like fine tuning, I guess, to this, but it doesn't look great. It doesn't have like a lot to really offer in terms of a skin. I honestly, personally, probably like stock over this thing. I think it's trying to go for a semi-realistic look, but it kind of fails at that too. This is just like a detailed skin that really does nothing. I could not describe to you what this was going for, and I don't know if the creator could either. Probably a D tier for me. I could see maybe a few people using this, but it's never gonna be me. Then we have the M4A4 Buzzkill, which is it's not a gold finish, it's just a yellow finish, and it's an okay yellow finish. It doesn't have that same clean overall finish as the Coalition, but it does have a lot of yellow, especially where it counts in the middle here. But it's kind of like a yellow finish mixed with a camo, which sucks. Because I don't like camo skins, but this is like half camo, half yellow, and a nice color yellow at that, and I like yellow. This is like my favorite color of yellow. But it's like half really good, half really bad. It does kind of mix together somewhat well, but I think it detracts a lot from the skin that it's like half camo. I'm gonna put it probably above the Poseidon in C tier, and I think that's kind of a fair place to put it. Then we have the M4A4 Neo Noir, probably one of the most used skins I've seen. And I can kind of see why, right? It's got a really nice, obviously like I think it's a Vaporwave or Retrowave or something. The color scheme that it has either way, really solid. These colors of pink, blue, and white pink, blue, white, and black always go together really well. The design of like the woman on, woman with her katana and her fists up like this is really good. The part that you see is generally her staring back at you, kind of like smoking, which I know a lot of people would like. And then, you can see her hair, I guess, flowing back here, which I don't think it was needed, but honestly, it probably would have looked really bad if this was just a clean white finish in the back, so this is probably a positive that it's so detailed, because it draws your attention away from it and back toward the center of the skin, where the kind of cool design's going on. And it's got a nice, cool finish in the front, right? Nice, solid white color with I don't know what the design exactly is, maybe it's like the smoke cloud or something. I don't know, but it just looks clean overall. Very clean finish, very nice skin, very nice color scheme. I know why a lot of people like this. I probably personally wouldn't use this myself, but I can definitely see why a lot of people do use it. And yeah. Then next up, we have the M4A4 Emperor. I've seen this used a lot at like the high levels. Like I feel like I see this in some CS like pro clips, but I don't particularly know why. It's definitely not bad. I really, really like this skin. The colors in the background are phenomenal. I mean, that's probably the best color of blue out there. Just the colors of blue used across this. The Emperor himself is dead center, exactly where we want to see him. The crown is kind of even integrated with this little like piece sticking out of the M4 on the side there. And that looks kind of clean, and just, I don't know. I mean, it's a really solid, it's all central around the Emperor, and the part that isn't the Emperor has a really nice blue finish around the edges. There's even this tiny little crown at the front, which I think is a kind of, I always love tiny details like this. I think that's kind of cool. Then I guess you have like the shield and like another flag or something here, and probably some designs down here that mean something too, but it's really just this central Emperor with a nice blue background. It's definitely a really solid skin, but it's literally like one of the most used skins for some reason that I've seen, and I don't know why, because for me it's a solid A tier, but I really do think like stuff like the Hellfire kind of, sticks out on top. But yeah. Then we have the M4A4 in living color. It's a graffiti skin. It's like the Neo Noir if it was graffiti. Has the same type of finish, same type of thing, except there's a lot more details just everywhere. Like, everywhere you look, there's something else going on. Like, you have this little skeleton with flames coming out the back. You have this little face here with one eye and one X. You have these little, like, cat things. You even have some little, like, girl peeking out the back here. Some finger flicking in the back here. 404, probably reference to Air 404. I think that says free in the front, and just the color scheme overall is like graffiti-like. I mean, it's an extremely vibrant skin, probably the most vibrant skin in the game that I've seen so far. That doesn't necessarily make it good, and I'm not the biggest fan of graffiti stuff myself, but I can see the merits of this. I'm gonna put it in a solid B tier. It's not something I would use, but if you even remotely like, just like a lot of things going on, or kind of just graffiti looks, you'll fucking love the skin. I think it kind of embodies a lot of what graffiti has going on, at least to my knowledge. Anyway, the final skin, probably one of the most infamous skins in CS, is the M4A4 Howl. Which, yeah, I mean, it's got a relatively nice red finish all over. You have this, I mean, honestly, just really nice looking kind of lion creature flame thing kind of howling in the middle. And it's just a really nice finish all around. I think it's a bit overrated, and just because it's kind of infamous for being the only, yellow grade skin out there. I'm not saying its price isn't justified, because, it is kind of rare and just infamous with the game. But honestly, I'd probably put it below the Desolate space, just purely on design, and I'm going to move actually the Emperor and Evil Daimyo up into S tier, because I think they're a lot more deserving of the S tier position. And yeah, I mean, that's all I can say about the M4 skins. I do think the Howl is a tiny bit overrated just because of infamy, more than anything. And, you know, I can see why. It's still a well-designed skin. I mean, A tier is nothing to sleep on. That's, you know, you're in the same place as the Desolate Space and Spider Lily and stuff. Like, you're definitely doing well for yourself. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the M4 skins. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever own a Helltaker because they're just going to get more expensive by the day, even though I do really like the skin. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the M4A4. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you disagree with me on any of these skins, please feel free to leave stuff in the comments. I love reading people talking about all their favorite skins, or, you know, like people that might just agree here and say like, no, the Howl is my favorite skin. I really like that one, or whatever. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next one, and goodbye.